Yun starts feeling dizzy due to overwork and faints. John coincidentally calls him, but the nurse answers and informs him that Yun is in the hospital. John becomes worried and takes a taxi to go to him. He learns from the nurse that Yun has a severe infection. John stays by his side until he wakes up. Yun becomes agitated and wants to leave because he feels indebted. John asks him why he always seems upset around him and tries to distance himself. Yun explains that every time he sees John, he feels envious because his own life is difficult, yet John is always available to him. John laughs, realizing that everyone is deceived by Yun's seemingly happy life. Yun insists that his life is full of problems and asks John to stay away. However, John refuses, stating that no matter how hard Yun tries to push him away, he will always be there for him. He tells the nurse to take care of Yun and leaves. Afterward, Jen starts writing the report. She remembers John's confession of his feelings for her, which confuses her, and she struggles to continue writing. She gathers with her friends in the dorm, and they start drinking, each one sharing her relationship problems. It becomes evident that Ran loves Yun, but he doesn't reciprocate her feelings. Meanwhile, John goes online and searches for food suitable for people with infections. The next day, he buys it and visits Yun in the hospital, only to find out that he's not there. He tries to call him, but Yun doesn't answer. At the same time, Yun goes to his boss and begs him to reinstate John, but the boss refuses, fearing for his health due to excessive stress. He suggests Yun return to work during his vacation, but Yun refused to rest. The next day, Jane decides to confront John about her true feelings when she goes to the university gym. However, she finds many girls around him wanting to take pictures, which embarrasses her, so she walks away. Later, John is compelled to meet his brother at his office and asks him for the information needed for the project. His brother agrees to provide it, but treats him poorly, imposing conditions and refusing to attend the upcoming family gathering because no one wants to see him. John is hurt by his brother's words and mentions that he conducted some analysis to verify if they are his real family, as he is puzzled by their treatment of him. Sadly, it turns out they are his family, but he leaves the file and walks away. Afterward, he meets Jane, who seems to be attracted to him, but she tells him she needs to get to know him better because she doesn't understand his personality well. They agree to remain friends. During his lecture, John sends messages to Yun, asking him to take a break until he feels better. However, he is surprised to see Yun with him in the lecture. When John takes him out, Leon hands him the file he got from his brother, along with an envelope containing money, telling him that the amount he owed him is now settled. John is astonished that he managed to gather it so quickly, even to the point where he thought Leon might have sold his organs. However, Leon assures him that he is no longer indebted to him and asks him to stay away. John refuses, expressing his desire to remain friends no matter what. Meanwhile, the student who became the assistant to the professor is in her office, organizing the research, and comes across Jane's work. He removes her name from it and presents it as his own. Meanwhile, Jane is walking around the university and is surprised to find herself becoming famous. She overhears students talking about her and assuming she's involved with John. Angered by the rumors, she confronts John, accusing him of spreading them. He tells her that he didn't do that and leaves her, walking away with a heavy heart. Later, Jane overhears students mocking her appearance, saying they don't match each other and that John is better looking than her. She recalls memories from her childhood when kids used to bully her because her father left home and ran away with his mistress. Overwhelmed, she collapses to the ground, struggling to breathe. Meanwhile, John is sitting with his team, and his friend asks him about his relationship with Jane. He tells her that there's nothing between them. They're just friends. However, when he hears her speaking badly about Jane, he gets upset and leaves them, calling Jane. Hearing her crying and unable to speak, he becomes worried and starts searching for her everywhere on campus until he finds her sitting alone, struggling to breathe. He approaches her to check on her, but she pushes his hand away, asking him to leave her alone and stay away from her because their relationship is causing her problems. She cries and tells him that his presence with her embarrasses her, and she doesn't want them to remain friends. John walks away feeling sad, remembering his mother's words when she used to tell him that he causes trouble for anyone who gets close to him, and that nobody will love him or be his friend. Jane goes to the professor's office and asks about her research project, but the professor treats her poorly and kicks her out, saying she doesn't want her as her assistant anymore. Later, John's friends find Ran working at the club and continue to bother her, speaking poorly about Yun. She wants to confront them, but her friend stops her. John goes to pay the bill and meets Ran. He's surprised to learn that she's a friend of Yun and asks her what she did to convince him to be friends with her. She tells him that he's a stubborn person, but she sticks around him regardless. When John leaves the club, he's surprised to receive a call from Yun inviting him to dinner. He happily accepts and goes to the restaurant, but upon arriving, he finds Yun working there as a waiter, serving him food. This annoys John, and he tells Yun that he thought they would dine together. He sees Yun mocking him for leaving the customers and making things difficult for himself. John leaves the restaurant feeling upset, waiting outside until Yun finishes work. When Yun exits, John sits far away from him because of the smell of the food from the restaurant. He tells Yun that he invited him to make sure they're both from different worlds and that they can't be friends. John is annoyed by his words, telling him he didn't need to do all that and that from now on. He'll do what he wants and keep his distance from him. The next day, John quits the project team and rejoins his friends, but he's not happy. They try to talk to him, but he's not focused on them. Meanwhile, Jane decides to visit the professor's office again to ask why she was kicked out, hoping to fix things if the problem was on her end. The professor tells her that she didn't like her from the beginning because she doesn't like students who exploit others to achieve their goals, seeing it as a lack of competence. Later, Jane learns from Yun that John had obtained the information they needed for the project before leaving the team. When John's friend hears this, he gets upset and goes with his bully friend to confront Yun at his workplace. They argue, and eventually, the chef kicks Yun out of the restaurant. Yun tries to plead for another chance, but John refuses, saying that it's his last day there. Yun ends up crying by himself. John sees Yun and is surprised, feeling guilty as he walks away. Yun follows him, asking him not to tell anyone that he saw him crying. However, John gets annoyed and tells him that it's okay to ask for help from time to time and that it's not a weakness. He leaves Yun behind and walks away. Moran sees him and calls him, but he ignores her call and refuses to answer. Later, Marin's sister learns from her friend about a student at the university who is involved with Jane, and she is shocked and finds it hard to believe. When she returns home, she tells Rahan, who is also shocked when he learns that Jane and Chan were arguing over a girl. Now, she concludes that it's Jane. When Jane returns, they treat her nicely, and they ask her what she did to make them believe in her love. Jane feels embarrassed and tells them it's just rumors. The next day, she waits for John and gives him a plant as an apology, expressing regret for her outburst. She asks him to return to the project team and tells him to look up the meaning of the plant. She leaves him and runs off. When John looks up the meaning of the plant, he finds that it symbolizes sincere apology, and he laughs at her gesture. Afterwards, Jane is at the university, and John's friends corner her, demanding information from her. They continue to harass her until she breaks down in tears. John arrives and scolds them. He separates from their group and takes Jane with him, walking away. He realizes that Yun was the one who asked her to return to the project. He goes with her to meet him, but their relationship is still tense. Jane leaves them to talk, and Yun apologizes for what he said. John tells him that he has forgotten about what happened. The professor finds out that her assistant stole Jane's research and presented it as his own. She feels guilty for mistreating her. Later, Yun finds another job at a restaurant, but he has to work during the day and is late for the meeting. Jane is surprised because it's not like him to be late. Then, John takes Jane to her old school to confront her past and deal with the trauma she's been through. When they arrive, she remembers her memories and continues to cry. John tries to comfort her until she feels better. Afterward, they walk together, and she almost trips and falls. But John catches her and ties her shoelaces. Jen is touched of what he did, and they continue walking happily together. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and check out our other selection of recaps. Take care.